Hello guys, welcome back to another build video. Today we'll be looking at Nightblade, a slightly different take on Nightblade, specifically Magicka Nightblade, which is a very flexible, strong, small scale or group build, which I think will be ideal for the upcoming battlegrounds, particularly the 8v8 mode that's coming out soon as well on console. And this is more of a ranged build. It plays similar to a Magicka Sorcerer in some ways, but it's got more group utility, and yeah, it's really fun to play. We sacrifice some of our personal killing potential for much stronger group support, as well as survivability as well. I'll start off just by going through the sets. So we are running on the front bar the Infinite Archive set, Soul Cleaver as a lightning staff, sharpened with a poison damage enchant. Soul Cleaver is really interesting. It gives weapon spell damage on 2 of the pieces, max magicka, and then it also buffs the damage and healing of your siphoning abilities by 18% at the cost of a small ulti drain whenever you cast a siphoning ability. Now this ends up being very, very strong because we use, as our spammable, we are using Swallow Soul. We're also using Crippling Grasp as a damage over time and an immobilize. We're using Healthy Offering as our main heal and Soul Tether as our main burst ultimate. I think I need to be in combat to show you, but the tooltips on these things become pretty strong. So we're looking at, you know, nearly a 12k tooltip on Swallow Soul, nearly a 20k tooltip on Soul Tether, and we also get a juicy 19.4k tooltip on that as well, on Healthy Offering. So yeah, you can see why Soul Tether is such a strong set. And the nice thing is we just need to single bar it as well. So because we have, let me just not get stuck on these rocks quite so much, because we have most of our siphoning skills on the front bar, we are able to front bar the Soul Cleaver and back bar Rallying Cry, which is really nice on a Magicka build, especially a Magicka build that puts out small heals frequently, which we do with our particular skill setup. And then for our monster set, we are running Ozazan the Inferno. This drops from Skinner's Hall. This is a really powerful set. So it adds Magicka Recovery on the one piece, and then the 2 pieces, overhealing yourself grants you or an ally 4.2k armor for 1 second, and healing yourself gives you minor vitality for 1 second, which increases our healing and damage shield. This is a bit confusing, but essentially the way to look at this is when you don't have full health, every tick of healing causes you to be able to heal better on the next tick. And when you are at full health, you have extra armor, which means that you're more difficult to burst down. And this doesn't just apply to you, this applies to any teammate that you might heal as well. And I'll show you 2 different skill setups for when you're playing solo and when you're playing with a group on how to maximize this. But this is actually really, really strong. The way you see this is if you, for example, if I cast this, you can see this orange shield that appears above me. That's essentially Ozazan working. This is very strong on the Nightblade for a couple of reasons, but particularly because we're also running siphoning attacks on the back bar, which heals us every second when we deal damage, meaning that we proc Ozazan perfectly on cooldown. And also we are running Swallow Soul, which also heals us every 2 seconds as well, meaning that even when we're not light attacking, we're still getting the extra buff from Ozazan all the time. Then we're running One Piece Trainee, and we are running the Marking Ring of Majesty as our mythic, just for extra weapon damage and armor. So just to go over that, so Soul Cleaver Lightning Staff, Sharpened, Rallying Cry, Ice Staff, Defending, Reinforced Ozazan, Reinforced Trainee, Impen Ozazan, this can be reinforced if you want it to be, Rallying Cry, Well Fitted, Soul Cleaver Gloves, Impen, Soul Cleaver Breeches, Well Fitted, and Soul Cleaver Boots, Sturdy. This isn't the best rate, this is just what I had drop. So we are running 3 heavy, 3 light, and because we're running Rallying Cry, we don't need all of our pieces to be impen, so we can run more reinforced and well-fitted pieces as necessary. And then infused Rallying Cry amulet, infused Rallying Cry ring, and a swift marking of majesty. I always run one swift; it just puts me at a comfortable movement speed threshold. Going over the skills in a bit more detail. So front bar, we're running Crippling Grasp. This is a siphoning ability that gives us an Immobilize, which is really, really strong because it lets you predict the opponent's dodge roll. You can immobilize them and force them to dodge roll, which means that they're then vulnerable to soul tether. They can't block the soul tether while they're dodging. And then oftentimes when they get stunned in their dodge roll, you often put them off, off their game for a second. They don't tend to break free instantly, which often gives you enough time to send a merciless resolve down their throat. So yeah, very, very strong combo. It's also very good at just controlling the battlefield. So if someone's running away from you on a horse, you can crippling grasp them from range, and it just stops them in their track. It's hilarious. It's a strong dot over time, and yeah, the immobilize is really, really useful. I never actually realized just how useful having an immobilize is on a Nightblade build, because oftentimes you end up, if you don't run an immobilize, you often waste your merciless bow proc because they'll dodge roll randomly, but people very rarely dodge roll twice in a row. So if you can force them to dodge roll with immobilize, then you can almost always. I'll show you the clips later, but you can almost always get the bow proc off. So yeah, this has been quite eye opening. Then Healthy Offering is our main heal. This is a really strong tooltip. Puts a small dot over time on us, but it also gives us minor mending. So we're getting minor mending from Healthy Offering, which gives us 8% healing done. And then we're getting minor vitality from Ozazan, which gives us 6% healing received. So our heals are pretty juicy on this build. Swallow Soul is our main spammable. The tooltip isn't very strong right now, but as I showed earlier, it goes up in combat because of various sets. This is really nice because not only is it a strong spammable, it also gives us a very regular heal over time. And unfortunately, you can't put this on multiple targets and have them all healing you, like you can some other skills like Entropy. But what this does let you do is just give you a bit of health sustain while you're on your front bar and in the middle of your burst combo. Merciless Resolve is our main burst ability. Very, very strong skill. It doesn't get boosted by Soul Cleaver, unfortunately, but nevertheless, it's got a massive tooltip, and it's silly not to run this on a Nightblade. And then Power Extraction is our main source of major brutality. It also gives us minor courage, and it also gets boosted by Soul Cleaver as well. So it ends up being not a terrible AoE spammable as well. Just be aware that this particular morph costs stamina, and this is better used when you're running solo or in a very small group. And the other morph I'll show you in a second is what you should be running if you're running in a 8v8 BG or in a bigger group. And then Soul Tether is our burst ultimate. It also gives us a nice heal over time as well, as long as we stay close to our enemies, and our allies can use a powerful synergy as well. So yeah, fantastic burst skill. Moving on to our back bar, we're running Temporal Guard as our back bar ulti. We don't cast this very often. This is really just there to give us the minor protection on our back bar. And then we're running Mirage, which is a shadow skill. This is our only skill from the shadow line because the rest of the skills, Cloak has just been butchered in the next patch, so it's not really worth running on this kind of build. So Mirage is actually a pretty strong skill if you look at it on paper. So when we cast it, we get major evasion, which is 20% damage reduction from AoE abilities. We get minor resolve, which is 3k armor. We also get major resolve because of our shadow barrier passive, which stays up for nearly 20 seconds. And then we also get effectively a free dodge roll every 10 seconds, every 5 seconds even. So yeah, this is actually a really strong skill. So don't sleep on this. Make sure you keep this up all the time. With this up and with some heal over time going as well. Our armor on the back bar is sitting at about 3600, so yeah, pretty strong. Healing contingency is here in place of vigor. We don't need vigor because we're getting the minor resolve from Mirage. And what healing contingency lets you do is it lets you do a nice burst heal, and at the same time it gives you and all allies around you a heal over time. The heal over time isn't very strong, but you just want to have some sort of heal over time ticking on your allies in order to keep giving them the Ozazan proc. And this also lets us use the Major Savagery and Prophecy affix or signature script as well, which yeah, is very useful because it means that we can run tripods without having to miss out on Savagery and Prophecy. And then siphoning attacks on the back bar, this is really nice because it gives us a heal every second. It helps us with our Magicka and Stamina sustain, and occasionally we can cast this to get some extra resources back. Race Against Time for our mobility. This is what I would run in solo because it gives you the one button sort of guaranteed escape when you're being overwhelmed and pressured down. It lets you just get away really effectively. And then Elemental Susceptibility, which is obviously our source of armor shred. Now, there's a slightly different setup that I would use if you're running in a group. So, if you're in a group, I change up a couple of things. So, let's just equip that really quickly. So, on the front bar, instead of power extraction, I would run sap essence. This is really nice because it gives you and all allies around you a nice heal, and that scales with the number of targets you're facing. So if you've got 6 allies around you and you're fighting 6 enemies, this is actually pretty huge in terms of the amount of AoE damage you're doing and the amount of AoE healing that you're doing with the Soul Cleaver buff as well. So I don't know if these guys have respawned yet. Yeah, so we're doing 8.2k magic damage in an AoE, and then we're healing for about 5k per target there as well. So yeah, it's very, very strong. I would run this instead of power extraction. You do miss out slightly on the minor courage, but that's okay. In a group setting, the heal is much more important. And then on the back bar, instead of Race Against Time, I would run Refreshing Path. Now this is an AoE skill that basically leaves a square on the ground that heals every second, and also gives all of your allies major expedition while they stand in it, as well as minor recoveries as well. This is very effective because it can be useful for repositioning your entire group when you're in a group fight. It also sort of helps direct your group as well. If you're not on voice comms with your allies, then if you put a refreshing path down, it's sort of a big arrow being like, go this way. This way is where we want to be. So that's really useful, and it also heals every second as well, which means that it's very easy to keep Ozazan fully procced on all of your group while you're fighting in a group fight. So if you're fighting on a flag or something like that, it's very nice to put this down. Because we lose the snare removal from Refreshing Path, I would then run the other morph of Mirage. I would run Phantasmal Escape instead of Mirage because this is giving you snare and immobilization immunity for 6 seconds when it's fully morphed instead of the minor resolve. And then what I would do is I would put minor resolve on healing contingency instead, which means that you then need to run, instead of tripods, you would then need to run Essence of Spell Critical with crit, health, and Magicka. But actually this is fine because we, at that point, have dropped our only stamina skill, and so our stamina sustain isn't so impacted. So yeah, those are the two setups. There's the group setup, and then there's the solo or duo setup. Looking at the character sheet, let me just go back to our solo setup quickly. So unbuffed on the front bar, we're running at 24.3k max Magicka, 33k health, 16k, 15k stamina. And then our spell damage is low at the moment, but we can drink a pot and cast a skill. And yeah, so we're sitting at about 3.8k spell damage, about 10k pen, and a nice 31% crit chance with really good magical recovery. Yeah, sustain isn't a problem on this build. And in PvP, we get an extra 300 weapon spell damage from Rallying Cry, which is excellent, and lots of crit resistance as well. Moving on to our champion points. So we are running in the Blue Tree Fighting Finesse for extra crit damage and crit healing. Focus Mending for increased single target heals. This is very nice to be able to get a strong tooltip on your main single target burst heal. Master at Arms and Deadly Aim. And in the Red Tree we're running Fortified, Sustained by Suffering, Pain's Refuge, and Celerity. Anyway, that's all I've got for the build. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoy. This is a very nice build to play in 8v8 BGs or in small scale Cyrodiil. It lets you contribute to the group rather than being a selfish stealth Nightblade hiding in the corner. I've got some ideas for a stamina Nightblade as well, which I might release after some testing. But yeah, keep tuned. More build videos to come. As always, like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.